with Hamilton, is what I like to call it. So we're cousins in the industry. So you'll begin to see our locks more and more on Hamilton safes and also with their customers as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. I know I've got a few minutes here, but we'll go ahead. We've got a lot to cover. Feel free to stop me anytime if you have questions. If you don't have a mic or something like that, you can post a question in the chat and we'll be glad to answer that as well. So the two locks we're going to talk about today is our Mini-Tech and our Techmaster. Okay, so with our Mini-Tech, we can actually do static codes, which means I put in I have a code memorized or whatever the case may be. I put it in. It's every time the same code until I change it. So that's what we call static codes. Then we can also do one-time codes with our Mini-Tech and Techmaster, and we accomplish that by using our Diama web software. So with Mini-Tech, we can do standalone, and then we can also incorporate one-time codes through our Diama web. With our Techmaster, we actually we can do one-time codes as well, but we can also have this lock with an IP interface, which allows us for remote management. We do that through our software called Corin Web. So first of all, we're going to talk about our Mini-Tech. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly as far as the features and standalone. We can have one master, one manager, up to 48 users, and then we can also have an additional 10 time delay override users if needed. So cash in transit, those type of folks who can actually bypass the time delay. We do have dual mode. It is a multi-lock system. We can actually run 2 locks off one keypad on the Mini-Tech. We do have the ability to do dynamic codes, also known as one-time codes, with our Diama web software. We actually have a keypad test, and that's actually on all of our locks and keypads. I mean, all of our keypads, we can actually do a keypad test, meaning we press and hold the 5, and we go through each number, and that allows us to know if that number is still working or if that membrane needs to be replaced. So there's some onboard diagnostics. I really like that feature because it lets us know, okay, it's just a membrane. That's a $10 or $15 replacement. There's no reprogramming. You're not replacing the entire housing, the keypad housing. It's just simply a membrane. So with that, like I said, we have a replaceable keypad. So these locks, our smart locks, require software to program. Now, once programmed, we can manage the features through the keypad. So we can add, delete users, we can adjust time delay, we can adjust time lock, those type of things as well, once it's been programmed. But out of the box, the Mini-Tech opens on 1. That's it. That's all it's going to do until you send programming to it. So it is software programmable. We can also program a Dallas key, and then we can connect the Dallas key to the side of the keypad where we have a little Dallas key reader there, and we can actually dump programming into that lock. We can also pull programming from that lock. Pull audit trails from that lock as well. So our audit trail on this lock is 11,000 events. That is time and date stamped. Okay. We also have the ability to put automatic daylight savings time for 30 years. So we can go ahead and put 30 years of daylight savings time. We're never going to have to worry about those calls on that Monday morning when their vault's not opening because they didn't make the adjustment on Friday. So we can go ahead and take that away from them and go ahead and put the 30 years of daylight saving time there in the lock. We actually have a weekly time lock as well. So we can program, so time lock, and we'll make sure everybody understands what that means. That means we can program the lock for it not allowed to be open, let's say from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. So we can go ahead and have that programmed into the lock, which can actually replace the mechanical time locks. So another thing we're trying to do is take out as much human error as we can. We all have experience with those time locks. Wanting too much time on them is always an issue. Sometimes they close it with the key inside, which can do damages to the lock. Those type of things, they're quite expensive. So we actually have this already built into our lock, the time lock feature. We can actually do an immediate time lock. So in case the branch needs to close early for whatever reason, they can go ahead and start the time lock, let's say at 3 o'clock instead of 6, and it will just pick up the next day's schedule as usual. Opening and closing periods, that has to do with our holidays. So we can go ahead and program Christmas, New Year's, all the holidays in there so that that lock won't be allowed to be opened on that day. We have a block feature as well, which actually supersedes the time lock. We can block the lock at the keypad, which then that way nobody's going to be able to get in until we actually unblock that lock. Okay, so it's been used for civil unrest, weather quite a bit, especially in hurricane season. In the South, we able to block the lock when we have a hurricane come in. They don't know when they're going to be back to that lock. As we all know, time lock expires every day, but this block would actually supersede that time lock. Bolt monitoring alarm, also known as door open alarm. So if we have the door open too long, we can program a specific time in which the keypad will begin to emit a beeping noise until it's closed back. We have time delay, open windows. All of our locks are powered by a 9-volt. All of our batteries are located on the bottom of the keypad. We do have additional battery boxes if needed. We can actually do DC power as well for these locks. And then we with the LCD screen, we also have a low battery warning to let the user know that the battery needs to be changed. Any questions over these basic features that we've just covered so far? Okay, so our next lock we're going to talk about would be our Techmaster. Now we jump up in features. So everything the Mini-Tech does, Techmaster does as well, but we've added some additional features also. Of course, we have the same LCD screen. Now we can actually remote manage this lock, and we do that through our Corin web, and then we also have an IP interface that's connected to the safe and to the keypad and locks that allows us to communicate to those the keypad and locks to be able to make changes, to add, delete users, pull audits. We can actually see the status of the lock. We can manage time delay. We could manage our time lock feature as well. With this lock, we actually have 3 different time locks we can put in there. So that's been very handy in some situations. For example, maybe a bank or institution has holiday hours. So after Thanksgiving, they're open an additional hour through the week, whatever the case may be. We can have that already built into the lock. So when that date hits, it just picks up the new schedule. That's the reason we have 3 time locks. We also have an organization which works around the clock. So they have different groups that have to abide by different time locks. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but in this lock, we can actually create users that belong to different groups. So maybe this group, group A, whatever you want to call it, has time delay. Maybe group B does not. Or maybe group A has to abide by time lock, group B does not. So having those groups gives it a little more of a feel like access control would. We can put our holiday schedule in there as well. Daylight savings time, as we already talked about in our Mini-Tech. Now, with our audit trail, we jump up to 15,000 events. And that is date and that's time and date stamped. This is also a multi-lock system. So each keypad, with our new keypad that we came out with this year, we can actually now manage up to 16 locks on one keypad. We have a Dallas reader as well. So if you want to do dual token, code and Dallas key, we can do that as well. Maybe one person has a Dallas key, the other person has a code. We do have that option built into the Techmaster. Again, we power with a 9-volt battery box or additional power supply. When we go onto our network lock, or let's say our IP lock, we actually need constant power so that we can communicate with the lock. In case power does go down, the 9-volt takes over. The only thing that happens at that point is we're not going to be able to communicate with that lock remotely, but the lock is still going to be in standalone. It's still going to be able to open and close because we have a 9-volt in that lock that becomes backup at that point. So even if a server goes down, power goes out, this lock is going to do exactly what it's supposed to. As long as you have a code and as long as we're not in time lock, it's going to open for you. As I said earlier, we have access control defined by user groups, so we can create those user groups. We can do single or dual combination if necessary. Now we jump up to, we can have up to 2 masters in the lock. It's optional. We can have up to 2 managers in the lock. It's optional. Static users, we can have up to 89 users in the lock. With our dynamic code system, it's really unlimited the number of users you can use in that system. But as far as static users, we're looking at 89. We have the ability to do code expiration, so we can actually program this lock to say if the code is not used for X amount of months, it'll actually disappear. The code gets erased. The user's available, but there's no code associated with that user at that point, so you just go back and reactivate it. It's another way we try to help banks and financial institutions to kind of help manage their codes. We all know that they could use as much help as possible with that. So if the code is not used, it can disappear. It's a programmable feature. You don't have to have that in there. We can also force the users to change their codes every X amount of months. So if they want to do it once a quarter, once a year, we can have that programmed into the lock. So when that day hits, the keypad's going to tell them you need to change your code. Changing code in all of our locks, I just want to say it's pretty simple. You press and hold 0. You enter in the current code, put in your new code, confirm the code. So it's just pretty much 3 steps to change your code. We have time delay, open window, Dallas keys I've already talked about, duress with the alarm box, remote lock, so we can do that through the alarm box as well. We can actually remote lock the key through the locks through the IP interface. Wrong try penalty, that's also in all of our locks. So if you try to guess a code, it's going to put you in a 4-minute time delay. You can actually, not time delay, it'll put you in a 4-minute delay in which when you go back, you have to wait the 4 minutes, you go back, you put your code in again. If it's not correct, you're going to wait another 4 minutes. We can actually adjust that time in our programming to make it as long as you want. Dual token, we already talked about that. Dallas keys if you want them. And then we can also do the immediate time lock as well. We also have the ability to remote block this lock, as we do with the Mini-Tech, but we can do this remotely. So I can go in and choose as many locks as I want to block remotely. Furthermore, now I'm going to get ahead of myself here, but let me back up. So anyway, this is what we have as far as features for the Techmaster. Now what I want to do is get into the different softwares and what that does for us. Any questions currently over our Techmaster? All right. So going back, we're going to talk about DynamoWeb first. This is our one-time code software. All right. So again, it works with the Techmaster and the Mini-Tech. We actually have an app as well that we can use on a smart device. So with one-time code, there's some advantages on this if you haven't worked with them in the past. What I really like about them is I think they're underly used. I mean, they were designed for the ATM market, cash in transit, but I also believe that there's some other markets out there that have maybe high turnover rates, retail, those markets in which they have a lot of locks, a lot of people, and a lot of turnover. We don't no longer have to manage codes anymore. We just manage people. So I don't have to worry about codes, people leaving with codes, because every opening requires a new code to be used. We don't have, with our locks, something we do different. We have no vendor meets. So at other one-time code locks, currently, if I have to get rid of somebody in that lock, we're supposed to meet at that lock and to remove that person. So as you know, if you have to let a customer go or let an employee go, whatever the case may be, it's pretty hard to organize that meeting at that lock to remove that person. So what they've been doing is actually just replacing the lock, which increases your cost and so forth. We do that a little different. We actually, in our software, can just remove the user. They're no longer affiliated with that lock. I don't have to go anything. I don't have to touch the lock physically to remove that person. We can do immediate blocking through the software as well. We have another thing that I really like about our lock is, or our system here is, we can actually customize the validity of the code. So I can make the life of that code 15 minutes, 1 hour, 4 hours, or 12 hours. I think you can actually do 24 as well. So meaning I have 15 minutes to use that code. Otherwise, it's going to expire. We also do away with modes. So some of our competitors have 3 different modes built into the lock. We can still do static codes. Let's say the bank may want a static code, but maybe maintenance and the cash in transit would want to still continue using their one-time codes. We can still do that in the lock. Getting away from modes allows us to not have to use keys. So keys are optional. Dallas keys are optional in our system. So what we need to actually use is a PIN number that's created by the software. So instead of having to purchase keys, manage keys, know which keys are on which truck and so forth, we don't have to manage that anymore. We have the ability to do geofencing with the GPS. So if a technician wants to request a code, or whoever wants to request a code, they have to be within, we do it in meters, 1 meter, which is a yard, up to 500. So they have to be within that distance from that lock before they can even request a code. Furthermore, we can actually add QR codes and barcodes to the system as well. So what we do is that's either on the safe or on the keypad. Sometimes people laser etch them into the keypad, or they use a sticker for the safe, in which I can use my smart device to go up to the safe. It will scan that QR code and let me know that I'm at the correct location. So a lot greater flexibility with routes. We don't have to get tied to a specific route. As you all know, some things happen throughout the day. Maybe I can't hit to all my ATMs that day, and I have to maybe give some off to another crew to run and do their business at the ATM. We can do that much easier in our system than having to go in and delete codes, go back in and put a new request for those codes that were not used. We can also get remote alerts. So whoever's the administrator of the software, there could be multiple, they could get alerts. Maybe personnel are at the wrong lock, a wrong code was used, a wrong close code was received, those type of things as well. We can create groups of locks, or even locations, or even base those groups on users inside the software as well. So for example, Anthony, maybe he can only see the locks in Kentucky, and I'm only have permission to see the locks in Ohio, or West Coast, East Coast, North, South, however you want to do it. You want to break it down to counties, zip code, you can do either of that, so that I can only manage or actually even open the locks that I have been given permission to open. So as I said, Dallas keys are optional. I don't like using keys, period, but especially Dallas keys, but it is an option. If you need them, we have them. We can actually, so with our app, our Diama app, we can actually automate the code generation. So the user would go in, they would log in with their username and password to the system. They would then request a code, or they could come up to a safe and scan that code, and then they could request their one-time code to open. So this does away with any kind of type of call centers. It reduces the amount of personnel that's needed to manage the software. It becomes more automated, but you don't lose any kind of audit. Everything is done live. So even as the administrator of the software, I can see the codes being requested and being used as well. So with Diama app, our Diama web, we can offer the APIs as well. So if they have a software they want to integrate that into, we can do that. I would honestly say probably about 90% of our Diama web users request the APIs, and they want to integrate that into their own software already. So that is possible. We just require a non-disclosure to be signed, and then we can provide those APIs. Another thing that's very important too is Diama Web. It's a one-time purchase. There's no monthly fee, no annual fee. Updates, we push them out. So we will let them know, hey, there's a new update. We added a new feature. If you want it, we just go through the update procedure. And now that you would have the latest version. Some of the screenshots here I have of the software. So this here would be our different keypads. I mean, this is how we go in and edit the different locks. We activate them and so forth. We have our customers listed there, addresses, however, how much detail you want to put in there. We have the fields for that. With this software too, we do have Active Directory. So as users leave, we can actually it's almost an HR function at that point. If they are removed from the Active Directory, they will not be able to access any of the locks. So this is a screenshot of the software. If I wanted to, generate a code, I would go in. This would be the date when it's valid for. Who's going to be opening it? In this case, Philip Aldridge. Let me go back there. Which keypad do we want to open? So I just call it safe one, for example, the one I have on my desk. And then the lock. And then here it allows us to say how long do we want that code to be valid for. We can make this permanent. It's something you can choose. So maybe the rule is it's only good for 1 hour. So we can make that as the default in their system as well. So using the smart device, this is kind of what it looks like let's say at the smart device. So after I log in, I would have the safes that I'm allowed to open, a list of safes here. It could be the route for the day, for example. I could click on this safe, or I could walk up to it. If it has a QR code on it, I could just scan that QR code. It will pull up, let's say, safe 1. And then at that point, I would just click generate code. My code pops up on my screen. I would then introduce that code at the keypad. Door opens. We close it. We get a close seal that's displayed on the LCD screen of the keypad. Then we just input that into our space here where it says closing code, and that's sent back to the software. Closing codes for us are optional. So like I said, some people want them, some people don't, but it's an option for us. With our Techmaster, we actually added an NFC feature in which, so once I have my code on my screen, all I have to do is touch my phone to the keypad. It will pick up that code, open the door. When we close the door, the close seal will be produced, and then we can actually just scan or touch the keypad with our phone again or smart device, and it will send the close seal back to the software. That is something new that we added just with the Techmaster currently. Any questions over our one-time code software? And like I said, this is not an in-depth view of this, but this is kind of a flyover. I'll be glad to show more detail. We can have a whole hour-long presentation just on Diama Web itself.
Please feel free to post your questions in the chat, and I'll answer them while he goes on if you have any questions.
So our next lock that we're going to talk about, so we talk about our Mini-Tech, then we talk about our Diama Web. So now we're going to talk about our Techmaster, which can do the one-time codes as well. Also can be managed remotely. So here's a picture of our IP interface, okay? So this usually resides on top of the safe. We'll have our keypad connected to our I/O box, and then another cable coming out that would connect to our various locks. And this is how we then communicate. So the IP address resides in this IP interface, and that's how we communicate to the different locks. So with Techmaster IP capabilities, we can see the status of the lock in real time from any location. User management, so we can add, delete users. Of course, we have the time lock and time delay management, real-time audit download, remote block, immediate time lock, so we can do all these things remotely and not have to do that at the keypad itself. Date and time synchronization. We can also receive alerts via email or pop-ups. Let's say the door has been open too long, or maybe somebody's under duress, or they're putting in wrong codes. Whatever the case may be, we can have the system produce pop-ups or email to inform whoever needs to be informed. And then again, with our Techmaster, we've also added the near field communication option for our one-time codes. We went with near field communication because UL actually accepts that. And that's one reason that we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose any kind of security. With NFC, the lock doesn't emit a signal. It's actually the phone that emits the signal, and the lock just picks up on that. So remote management with a mobile app. Corn Web software can be managed on a mobile device, smartphone or tablet, through Corn app, allowing access to your cloud database at any time. So it allows a little more flexibility to logging into the software. It is a cloud solution, so multi-platform software installed on your web server, no local installation. Of course, it's an easy installation and use with real-time updates. So if you have multiple servers, we can configure that up as well and create a backup management to ensure operational continuity. So in case a server fails or something like that, we can have a backup server. We can actually help them create that backup. So with this, we have a greater speed of operations and management, so we can have multiple users with simultaneous access from multiple locations. So when you do buy the software, there's no limit on the number of users that can be in that software. Furthermore, I can also determine what privileges they have in the software. So let's say Philip's job is only to pull audits. Let's just hypothetically say that. So when I log into the system, that is the only thing that I'll be able to do is pull audits. I won't be able to change, add, delete users, none of that. Whatever I do in the software is audited. So whatever I do at the lock is also audited. Just talked about that. It is an open system. That word always makes me a little nervous. Doesn't mean it's unsafe. That just means that we are a little more flexible, and this can be integrated into a third party. So we also allow for customization of features. So keep that in mind. If you have a customer that has maybe a unique request, if we already don't have it in the lock, let me know that it's possible that we can add that into the lock. Of course, we're not going to jeopardize any kind of certification, but we can have that conversation. So our software is all designed in-house. All of our software, we do firmware, software, and locks in-house. So we are able to create and be more flexible for the customer's needs. The system is encrypted. The encryption that we use is AES 256, which they consider the gold standard for financial institutions, government, and healthcare. So some of the advantage of remote management system is with Corn Web, it allows for continuous monitoring. Even if the local PC is turned off, it is possible to configure the software to automatically receive real-time push notifications through a pop-up and or email. Again, this is a one-time software license fee. Okay, so we're not charging for our IO boxes monthly. There's no annual fee. There's no monthly fee. When they purchase the Corn Web or even Diamond Web, that is their license. We're not going to be taxing them every month, year to use their product. So keep that in mind. I think it's a big advantage from what others are out in the field that are available. When you do buy it, it's like I said, it's a one-time purchase. There's no deadlines. It allows for the creation of any number of software users with different profiles and different privileges. So with one single license, you can manage an unlimited number of locks. Here is a quick diagram. So this resides on their network behind their firewall. Okay, so we're not hosting anything. They own this software on their network. Here's a picture of a screenshot. Let's say when they open up the software, this is their dashboard. On the left here, let you know if you have any locks that have errors. So you can click on the yellow here. It'll tell you which locks are in errors, and then you can dig down deeper there if need be. Then lock status is on the right-hand side, operators that are in the software, and then the various devices. This is just more of an overview to see. Like I said, it's just a dashboard, but we can always drill down to the details in that software. This is what it would look like to manage the lock users. As you can see here, I have user 2 is Janet. She's installed. We could simply delete her by coming over here and saying delete, and then she would be out of the system at that time. We can also have this to communicate with Active Directory, so if she's in multiple locks, we can just remove her one time and she'll be taken out of those locks. This would be an audit trail, what it kind of looks like. So you can see your date and time here. Let you know the door closed. Just want to give it kind of a brief introduction to what that looks like. Down the left-hand side here would be our lock tree. So in this case here, I have the safe called Home Office, and on that safe, I have 5 locks. I chose to audit lock 1 in this case. And then wrapping it up, we offer 6 lock bodies on all of our locks, okay? We have a swing bolt, deadbolt, latch bolt, which has multiple names, so also known as a slam bolt or a spring bolt. And then we have our motor locks, deadbolts as well. We actually have 2 type of deadbolt motor locks. One is just a standard version, and then we have a push and pull, which can pull up to 30 newtons, which is equivalent to about 6 pounds. So we use that in our vault applications where we are tied directly to bolt work and we need to pull that back. Okay. Feel like I had 20 minutes. I went over a little bit. So any questions for me at this point? Like I said, I just wanted to introduce this product to you all. I'll be glad to do any kind of demos or more in depth. I can actually show you the software. We can play around with it, whatever you would like. If you'd like some more information, please feel free to reach out to us. We don't have any questions. I know we have another Lunch and Learn webinar coming up. And if Gina, you want to add to that?
Yeah, we did have one question. Is there literature available? Dave put that in the Q&A.
Yes. What type? I can get literature. We have brochures, installation. I mean, you let me know what you're looking for, and I'll be glad to get that to you. Yes, I also have documentation for for IT people, what we call our fact sheet. So usually IT wants to see that first before they get started. So we have a lot of documentation that we can provide.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Well, next month we have Larry Black, Regional Sales Director with Hamilton, presenting a Lunch and Learn about sales strategy, survey, and analysis. And he'll be joining us for a focus session on optimizing sales performance. So we hope everyone will sign up for that. And we really appreciate everybody who attended today. And thank you, Phil and Anthony, for presenting.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
A recording.
Have a great day.
There will be a recording sent out as well. So
great.
If you missed it.
Excellent.
Awesome. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.